Hi, I'm Shannon, owner of Pahrump Early Learning Academy, where we are more than just childcare.
Hi, I'm Monique Mitchell with KPVM Television. My children attend Pella and they love it. The curriculum they have is pretty amazing, and my children learn what they need at their level.
Not only are the children learning, they're having fun, and that's what matters.
I like Pella. They help you with your homework, and it's fun.
Give us a call today to tour our facility at 751-5335.
News 46 is brought to you by Comfort Hospice Care, where we give our patients and their loved ones peace of mind, knowing we provide the highest quality of care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For more information, call 751-0349.
Tonight on News 46, Homestead Road is temporarily closed for a head-on collision. A home catches fire in the middle of the night. And the Trojans win their homecoming game. News 46 starts now.
You're watching KPVM News 46 with Deanna O'Donnell. News 46, local coverage you can count on.
Good evening. It's Monday, September 22nd, 2014. I'm Deanna O'Donnell for News 46. One person was airlifted as a result of a head-on collision on Homestead Road north of Thousand Air Boulevard on Friday night.
Tonight's accident report is brought to you by Stovall & Associates. Don't expect insurance companies to have your best interest in mind. Stovall & Associates cares. Let us help you if you have been involved in an accident.
Reported for a two-vehicle accident being a head-on collision. Upon arrival, in fact, did have a complete head-on collision. While there was no entrapment, there was 3 that required medical treatment, one being of such nature because of the mechanism and the injury sustained required flight. We utilized the LZ, the helipad at Terrible's Lakeside, no, former Terrible's Lakeside, now called Lakeside. Mercy Air 21 came to the scene. We exchanged patient care, and that patient went to trauma. The remaining 2 occupants from the second vehicle were then transported to the local hospital.
And they were inside, I believe, the white minivan?
There was a sedan and a minivan involved in the accident.
And so traffic was blocked for quite a while there. Was that for the extrication, or was there an extrication necessary in this case?
There was no extrication required, but there was significant damage to both vehicles, and there was a considerable debris field throughout the area. So the road was closed down for patient care, patient transport, and then the Sheriff's Office investigation required it to be shut down for a further length of time, and then clean up.
I saw the airbags were deployed. Seatbelts, do you know?
That was part of the investigation that was underway by the Sheriff's Office, who actually was restrained and who may not have been.
There was also reports of a third vehicle. Did you hear anything about that?
We heard reports that there was possibly a third vehicle that may have left the area, that may have actually even been a contributing factor to the accident, but again, that's something the Sheriff's Office was following up on.
And Fire Chief Scott Lewis reports on a 2-vehicle accident involving a motorcycle, which occurred last night.
Yesterday, late afternoon, we were dispatched for a report of a motor vehicle accident being with a motorcycle versus an automobile. The mechanism and the injury sustained to the motorcyclist warranted us to bring in flight, but because of the tight area, we decided to bring them into the Calvetta Meadows Airport on the north end. That was our LZ. Patient care was transferred there, and that patient was subsequently flown to trauma.
Was that the motorcycle rider?
It was the motorcyclist that required the additional higher level of care.
Was anybody inside the vehicle injured or transported?
Not to my knowledge. It was my understanding that it was just a motorcyclist.
Fire crews responded to an early morning structure fire on Venza Street.
Just after midnight, we were dispatched a report of a structure fire. The immediate location was unknown, and so there was several initial reports placing it in a specific area off of Highway 372. As we got closer to the scene, we really didn't have anything visible, but the further reports showed it on Venza in the area of Corbin. Engine company and I arrived on location. We found fire showing from the front of a double-wide manufactured dwelling. It wasn't a lot of fire. It was actually a relatively small fire coming out through a single window at the front of the building. Our investigation, our size up, revealed that it was a room and contents that was starting to extend into the remainder of the structure. Guys went in there through the front door, made a quick knockdown, held it to a room and contents. There was smoke and heat throughout the structure, but the majority of the fire was actually held to that bedroom.
It was reported by a neighbor?
One of the neighbors saw it and called it out immediately, but they had to investigate exactly, again, where that location was. They could see some fire, but didn't know exactly what the address was.
Was it in the roof at that time? There was a lot of smoke coming from the roof at a certain point, but that's just where it escapes, or the smoke?
The fire, when it originated, came up onto an exterior wall surface. It breached through a window, was lapping up into the eaves, and by doing so, it started to go into the roof area, but we got it before it could extend further. But that resulting smoke from the fire was starting to go out through the gable vents on either end.
Was there any occupants in this home?
There were no occupants at the time. It was furnished. It looked like maybe someone had been in the process of moving out. And so as part of our investigation now as to what the origin and cause is, but we're also trying to determine where those folks are so we can talk to them.
And so is it suspicious at this point or no?
It's open at this point. There's not really one determination whether it's suspicious or not, but it is an open investigation and we'll be following up.
Pahrump Valley Fire and Rescue crews responded to a cooking fire this afternoon at the Masonic Lodge off Blagg Road and Gemini Street. No one was injured in the small stove fire. There were no extensions or fire damage to the structure. A Kentucky firefighter has died weeks after participating in an ALS ice bucket challenge that went horribly wrong. Electricity from a power line shocked 4 firefighters on a ladder as they sprayed water on a group of college students below who were trying to pull off the charity stunt. Crews from the Fire and Rescue Department in Campbellsville were helping the Campbellsville University Band with their video challenge August 21st. 41-year-old Captain Tony Greider died Saturday from burn-related injuries. When we come back from this break, we'll have your Desert View Hospital health tip.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Inspiration Senior Living, where we provide affordable elegance to Pahrump area seniors. Give us a call at 751-2300 and make an appointment to tour our community.
Welcome back to News 46. Prescribing antibiotics for children is very common. About 75% of these medications are given to treat acute respiratory tract infections, or ARTIs. A new study evaluated whether pediatricians who were updated about current prescribing guidelines and given feedback about the prescriptions they wrote would prescribe these drugs more effectively.
This health tip is brought to you by
Desert View Hospital and Mountain Valley Physicians Group. Don't put your health on hold. We have time for you. Call us to schedule your appointment. 775-751-7100.
Most visits to a pediatrician's office, like this one, are routine.
The other thing we're doing today is we're going to be giving our first set of immunizations.
However, sometimes they are not. Children often see their physicians for a variety of illnesses, including acute respiratory tract infections, or ARTIs. Some of the most common are sinus infections, strep throat, and pneumonia. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends penicillin or amoxicillin as first-line agents to treat these infections, but about 50% of children receive broader-spectrum antibiotics.
The two main goals were to make sure that kids were getting the right drug to best cure their infections, and to make sure that we avoided kids getting drugs that they didn't need.
Dr. Jeffrey Gerber from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and co-authors studied 18 pediatric primary care practices sharing a common electronic health record. Physicians in 9 of those practices were provided a 1-hour education session about current prescribing guidelines. The physicians were also given 1 year of personalized feedback on how they use those guidelines when prescribing medications for viral and bacterial ARTIs. Physicians in 9 other practices prescribed medication without the intervention.
Off-guideline prescribing for these common infections decreased by nearly 50% for pediatricians who received the education and feedback. And specifically for patients with pneumonia, the intervention reduced off-guideline prescribing by 75%.
Researchers say this was a relatively simple intervention that produced large benefits.
Parents should be confident that we have a way to get kids the right drugs at the right time to best cure their infections while minimizing unnecessary side effects.
Catherine Dolph, The JAMA Report.
Thanks so much, Catherine. Prior research has shown that unnecessary prescribing for viral acute respiratory tract infections have been declining. boosted its presence and its surveillance measures around the White House today after an Iraq War veteran who was apparently suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder jumped over a White House fence. 2 security incidents in 2 days have raised concerns about the safety at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. On Friday, Omar Gonzalez hopped the north fence and sprinted just past the North Protocol White House doors when he was stopped. Gonzalez carried a knife in his pants pocket. Police searched his car and found more than 800 rounds of ammunition in boxes and magazines. They also found 2 hatchets and a machete in his car. The Nye County Sheriff's Office is now offering the Explorer program thanks to 2 individuals who have privately funded the curriculum, which teaches law enforcement to inspiring young people.
We're revamping our cadet program and turning it into an Explorer Post program through the Boy Scouts of America, through their Learning for Life and Law Enforcement Career Program.
So there was some monies that have just been released. Is that from the half-cent tax increase that's going to help pay for this, or is it grants?
No, it's been private donations. Myself and Assemblyman James Oscarson and several other citizens have stepped up and donated money to help get this program on the ground. It's going to help pay for dues, tuition to certain training events that Summer has set up for the cadets, uniforms, things of that nature.
You guys used to have this, right?
Yes, it used to be an Explorer Post way back in the day, like 15, 20 years ago. That kind of fizzled out when kids lost, I guess, interest in it. And then they canceled being an Explorer Post and went just to cadets. With the cadets, they don't get as much training as the Explorer Post offers.
Tell me why this is important.
There's several things that come into play here. The number one is it helps the kids see a side of law enforcement that they normally wouldn't see. It also lets them know if they're compatible with the law enforcement agency, and if the agency's compatible with them. From the administration view of the program, it helps us retain that interest in the young men and women that are in the program that maybe want to go on to a law enforcement career. So they start learning at a young age, and they bring those knowledge, skills, and abilities forward with them if they should decide to come on board as a deputy sheriff, dispatcher, somebody working in detention as a technician.
How can a person apply?
They can contact myself or any of the other advisors, Deputy Fancher or Deputy Marshal at the Sheriff's Office at 775-751-7000. They can call and ask us any questions, or they can stop by the office Monday through Friday, actually Monday through Thursday from 8 to 4 and pick up an application.
And are you going to have the regular Sheriff's Cadet program coming back soon? And how can people apply to become like auxiliary members?
The regular cadet program is now the Explorer program. Anybody that chooses to volunteer at the Sheriff's Office, we'll find a spot for them. And all they have to do is come by the Sheriff's Office or contact the Sheriff's Office at 751-7000 and request an application be sent to them. We'll bring the application to them. They can come by the Sheriff's Office. If they have any questions, if it's about any of our volunteer programs, they can contact myself, or if it deals with the Explorer, Summer Daniker, Joe Marshall, or Wes Fancher. But we want the public involved in our business. We believe that that's the path to transparency, is having the public involved in our business, from explorers all the way up to our Sheriff's Auxiliary members.
When we come back from this break, we'll have your sports.
Today's news is brought to you in part by Dr. George Leeks, Pahrumps optometrist since 1990, offering full-spectrum eye care for children and adults. Call today, 727-8300.
This Week in Sports is brought to you by Wolfenstein Construction. PVHS football walked away with an impressive win at Friday's homecoming game, giving them plenty of reason to celebrate at the dance on Saturday. The Trojans ran all over the Western Warriors Friday night at home, defeating them 61-14. The Trojans scored 8 rushing touchdowns. Gasson, the junior fullback, got plenty of carries in the red zone as he scored 4 of their 8 rushing touchdowns. Dion Estes, the senior tight end, scored 2 of their 8 rushing touchdowns, and TJ Milk targeted John Clark for their single 21-yard receiving touchdown. All of this excitement occurred in the first half of the game. Western scored their first touchdown in the first quarter of the game, returning a kickoff 80 yards for a touchdown. They attempted a 2-point conversion, but it was unsuccessful. In the second quarter, Western threw a touchdown and had a successful 2-point conversion, making the score 55-14. Estes scored before halftime, giving PVHS 61 points. The second half of the game was completely scoreless, making the final Trojan 61, Western 14. They face Clark next Saturday, the 27th, as Clark is coming off a 37-6 loss to Spring Valley, who is currently 1-1 in league matchups. Girls volleyball beat Western last Thursday 3-0. That win leaves them 6-6 overall and 1-2 in league. They continue their league play tonight at Mojave. Boys and girls soccer travel to Spring Valley tonight. The boys are coming off a rough loss to Western last week, and the girls are looking to get a win streak going after defeating Western last week. If you have any local sports stories, please contact us at news@kpvm.tv. I'm Courtney Solomon for your Week in Sports, News 46.
Thanks so much, Courtney. Mike Lee continued his winning ways this weekend in Laughlin, Nevada, going 3 for 3 at the Desert Showdown professional bull riding event. Lee jumped from 5th to 3rd in the PBR world standings, just 387 points behind the leader, J.R. Vieira. This weekend they will be in Oakland, California, and thank you to Judge Margaret Whitaker for this report. While doing a news segment on the Alaska Cannabis Club, a medical marijuana organization in Alaska, reporter Charlo Green made a grand exit from her position at KTVA, a CBS affiliate, on air. The ex-reporter told the Alaska Dispatch News that her dramatic exit was her attempt to bring attention to the issue of marijuana legalization and apologized for offending anyone. Here's Angela Miles with today's First Business Brief.
This is the First Business Brief for Monday, September 22nd. I'm Angela Miles. Alibaba's history-making IPO is off to a smooth start. Alibaba customers were given the honor of ringing the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange on Friday. Shares priced in at $68, Baba closed at $93.31. Yahoo just made a bundle on Baba. The tech company had a 23% stake in Alibaba and reportedly sold 140 million shares, possibly raking in $12 billion. Yahoo still owns roughly 384 million more shares worth around $34 billion. Yahoo stock sold off on Friday. And GlaxoSmithKline is hit with a record fine. The drug maker has been found guilty of bribery in China and slapped with a $500 million penalty. Glaxo says it fully accepts the facts and evidence of the investigation and the verdict. That's the First Business Brief. I'm Angela Miles.
Your weather when we return.
News 46 weather is brought to you by your local dairy farmers. Dairy products are very important in maintaining a healthy body.
Of 94 degrees, your average temperature around this time of year is 92 degrees. Winds were coming from the south today at 4 miles per hour with gusts up to 8 miles per hour, so we had some pretty low winds today. The UV index today was 7, which is high. Humidity was at 17% today. Sunrise was at 6:32 this morning, and the record high in 1949 was 104 degrees. Well, tonight we'll have clear skies with a low of 66 degrees. Your average temperature around this time of year is 69 degrees. Winds will be coming from the northeast at 3 miles per hour this evening with gusts up to 4 miles per hour. So we'll have low winds. Humidity will be at 26%. Sunset will be at 6:40 p.m. and the record low in 1944 was 51 degrees. Well, tomorrow we'll have sunny skies with a high of 96 degrees and a low of 67 degrees. Winds will be coming from the south at 4 miles per hour with gusts up to 7 miles per hour, so our low winds will continue through tomorrow as well. Humidity will be at 17%. Sunrise will be at 6:32 a.m. and the UV index will be 7, which is high. For our 7-day forecast, we'll have a mostly sunny week. We might be seeing some clouds outside on Saturday, though. Your high temperatures will be starting off around the high 90s, but they'll be going down into the low 80s early next week. Your low temperatures will be looking at a similar pattern starting in the high 60s and going down into the high 50s around this weekend.
Thanks so much, Noah. The Rural Services Subcommittee of the Nevada Commission on Autism Spectrum Disorders is hosting a town hall meeting on September 30th from 5:30 until 6:45 p.m. Locally, they will be at Great Basin College in room 124. That's there on Calvada, right next to the high school, on September 30th from 5:30 until 6:45 p.m. The public is invited to this free event. The town hall meeting is to gather information for the Nevada Commission on Autism Spectrum Disorders 5-year strategic plan from families, self-advocates, and providers in rural Nevada. This is an opportunity to express your concerns about autism services in Nevada from diagnosis through adulthood. What are the biggest gaps in services? How well are services coordinated across systems? And what are the most critical issues that Nevada needs to address? A very important meeting, and we'll, of course, keep reminding you about that as the time comes closer. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of News 46 from Patrick, Courtney, Darby, Noah, and myself. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.